Oh, wrong one. Sorry. Tonight, we're going to talk about being 500 for a week. Is that okay? Tommy Pham has been waived by the Cardinals. Should the Padres bring him back? We already did it with Elias Diaz. We're talking about all of that and more tonight on Padres Talking Padres.
Am I the only one in slow motion?
No, you look great. You're coming in fine.
You guys are all in slow motion.
Everybody, and welcome to Padres Talking Padres, your favorite podcast hosted exclusively by real life fathers. My name is Jay, and with me, as always, is Jerry. And your Padres, or is Jack? Hello, everybody. How you doing?
Yeah, doing well, Jay. Yeah.
All right. Seriously, I'm like a couple seconds behind.
Oh, you are? Well, that's not going to be good.
Here, let me open it.
You should leave and then come back. I'm going to remove you. There you go.
Yeah.
Are you on time with me, Jerry?
I am very on time, Jay.
Okay, all right. Well, then we're good. Okay, he just needs.
We're good. We're probably better now, but
actually, it's a lot more peaceful, to be honest.
What's that?
It's way more peaceful now.
Yeah, no kidding, man. How was your week?
It was good. It was good. Busy week. Full of Padres baseball. No breaks. Plus, I mean, it's not quite East Coast, but closer to East Coast time games is always nice. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Oh, I had him for a second.
Yeah.
Did you add yourself? There we go.
Yeah. I mean, even on the West Coast, I like the East Coast games. I do. 6:40 start here in San Diego, and I do like the 4:30 and the 5:30 starts. So. Makes it a little bit more enjoyable and allows for a little bit longer game and not having to stay up to the wee hours like you guys, but still earlier.
Yeah, so the first two games against the Cardinals were fun. The last two, maybe not so much. So I think we all say 3-3 for this?
3-3. There was eight games.
I actually said 4-4. You said 4-4, and Jack, I believe, said 5-3.
I'm going to leave and come back again.
Okay, all right.
Still behind.
Maybe restart your computer. I already left. Maybe restart his computer. But it's last time we did this show, Jerry, you had a really good point of we're already so and so much over 500.
Right.
And that means like if we go 500 the rest of the way, pretty much
somebody's got to go like, I don't know, 25-10 or something like that. I mean, it's going to have to be, just like the Padres did. So obviously it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I made I broke the golden rule and started talking to Jack 2 minutes before you came on, but I'll reiterate, what I told him isn't it great that the expectations of this team is that 500's not that great?
I mean, right?
And you sit there and you say, all these other teams are trying to win. They're some of them are in pennant drives and others are maybe playing out the season, but 500 is really not that bad. And especially when they're, on the road, I know that's only the last four games, but this is not a Cardinal team that stinks. It's a 500 club. They don't stink, So, offense went a little stale the last 2 days.
Yeah,
but I got a chance to watch pretty much all the at bats and everything, and the Padres are still having some good at bats.
Yeah,
they're
some bad luck. Manny was smacking it and just it was going straight to people.
And they're not, they're not striking out all over the place. And the starting pitching's been a little wobbly, but it's one start through the rotation that's been wobbly.
Yeah,
I don't know about you, Jay, as a fan, right? You go through a 4 or 5 game stretch and our starting pitching, everything. You're like, okay, that was just like one start each.
Yeah,
it's not like they went through 3 weeks of this where everybody's out there throwing 3 and 4 bad starts.
Can we just talk about it was nasty hot out there. 100 it was like 99, 100% humidity. I think it said it feels like 106.
Yeah.
If anybody has ever been in the South and actually just anywhere east of the Mississippi,
right,
and is just nasty this time of year. And
it sucks everything out of you, so I mean, both teams have to put up with it.
Sure.
But for pitchers, especially, it can be very daunting. In fact, I'm glad, even though we're going to Florida, we're going to Tampa Bay where there's a dome.
Yeah.
And so, at least all these guys only had to go through 4 days of misery. Then they get to come back to beautiful San Diego where it's 75 degrees and clear.
Woo. Jack, you may want to switch to your microphones. It's picking up your computer mic, which is.
Is it better now?
There you go.
Can you move your chair? That's what I'll know. Then, yep, you're good.
Better now?
Right. Yep, you're good.
Yeah.
All right. No,
so
I agree.
You're talking about the heat and humidity of the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty daunting. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not used to, like, people already covered it, but if you're not used to it, and people say, "Oh, they've been in it before," I go, "But yeah, it's different than when you spend your time in San Diego and then you have to go." Because I think we talked about it, how it could be a problem.
Dylan Cease's jersey changed color in like an inning.
But I was wondering, because today, Sonny Gray was pitching today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just wearing the jersey.
Yeah.
Every pitcher seemed to be wearing an undershirt. I'm like going, why? I mean,
I've heard
theories 5 or 6 pounds.
I've heard theories on both of those. That's just like people who wear long sleeves in the hot weather. The moisture, you're keeping the moisture on your skin and it keeps you from getting dehydrated. So one part makes you warmer, the other part keeps you hydrated. So, I mean, you have to kind of choose which one makes you feel the most comfortable.
I think it'd be uncomfortable being out there where you're just dripping in sweat. And he couldn't, like I said, Cease. I mean, I don't think we've seen him frustrated a few times this season. I thought he was ready to go punch somebody because he could not control. He couldn't control the pitch, and it was he's had off nights, but this one, I mean, he didn't give up a lot of runs, but still, it was like he could
actually nobody did outside of nobody did poorly. Like we didn't get blown out really in any of the games.
Yeah, none of the starters did bad, but none of them did what you would hope they would do, or because a lot of 4 and 5 inning pitching, 90 pitches. I think a lot of that is the hotness and the humidity and all that.
Oh,
the other thing is just you could just tell every one of them. I don't know about you guys. I could just tell every one of them, even in the first inning, like their release points just not right. You could just see it that they were.
Even Mud was calling that out.
It's not wild, but just out of the zone, kind of thing. And today, and again, I don't think it was the whole problem because obviously they only scored 1 run. King was not getting the calls that Sonny Gray was getting. Oh my gosh, he was getting squeezed right and left, and Sonny Gray was getting every corner and anything that was just barely outside.
They have a tough time tracking King. They have a tough time tracking his pitches
because his ball moves so much. I believe. He has a lot of movement, but I didn't see it until I think I started watching in the 4th inning, 5th inning, maybe because I was driving all over the place. But again, we got screwed on was it yesterday's game with the ground rule double?
Yeah,
I hate that rule. I mean, it just again, there's got to be a better way. I mean, Peralta I think was already at third base.
You wish there was. Supposedly there's judgment, but I got to tell you, in all my years, I have very rarely seen an umpire give them home. It doesn't. It does. It's the same for everybody, so you're okay with it because maybe they would be open up the can of worms if they started doing the old let's go to the cameras and see where they're at and things like that. But
it stinks though when he like laces it and just like that's a good hit.
Right.
It should have scored. I mean,
but you would think the way it bounced, you would think they still have turf.
Yeah,
I mean, that ball that's a high wall out there. That ball went a long way. It went about 20 feet and then over the wall. I'm not going. And right away I was like, "Oh, come on!" Right away I was frustrated because I knew that. And you could see Peralta, who's almost home, going.
Yeah.
I get the rule, but it's sometimes it's just baseball's not fair.
You brought back memories though, Jack, when you said it was almost the turf because St. Louis used to have turf. The artificial turf.
In
And
this
I remember
heat
hearing
and having
stories
artificial.
I remember stories of the players having to put aluminum foil underneath their socks because otherwise their feet would blister.
Right.
That's how hot it would get and everything. I can't even imagine, like 115 degrees on the turf and 120. Oh,
well, remember when it would be like game of the week and a game was there, they would have the temperature of the field. It was like 112 to 115 degrees.
Right.
And as Gary Templeton says, that's what killed his knee.
Yeah.
Was the turf. The turf was so bad, because back then the turf, they didn't have the technology. I don't think any turf is good, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Hey, my front turf's just fine.
I think I'm gonna think it affected my golf game.
That and the fishing game. You want to call it the fishing game?
Yeah, I think I did all right in the fishing game. I didn't overthink it.
But it is wild that because I feel like it reminds me of the old McDonald's play places, and when those would get really hot because they had like that rubber turf. Like I can only imagine the smell of that AstroTurf when it was 115 degrees.
And they had different seams in it too. I mean, it was. You look at the old Kingdom turf, back. You look at old videos and you go, how'd they play on that and not tear up their leg? Tear their leg. I know
they did.
Yeah, it's true.
They did. Yeah.
But there'd be like these gaps in it, and it's like, man, baseball allowed them to play in that, and football.
Well, and football, because I remember the Houston Astrodome when it was it was one of the first ones to bring in the AstroTurf.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Earl Campbell. I mean, Earl Campbell probably could have played 3 more years if he wouldn't have played in Houston. That AstroTurf was they had no padding. They didn't understand, that it needed padding. They just said, "Oh, we'll make this AstroTurf about an inch thick, and that'll be just fine." No.
Well, the players, like the NFL players, still complain about it. They say, and they've done studies. There are more injuries on AstroTurf than on natural grass.
Well, they blame
it doesn't give. Yeah, it
Aaron,
doesn't give. Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron. What's his name?
Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. His injury. They said it was completely related to the turf. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about Tommy Pham, the main topic of the evening. He's not at Pacers. We're okay.
I was gonna say I want to go to Pacers now. I don't know why.
So
got to watch my back.
The reason I bring it up is that in today's Kevin AC Padres Daily, there's a section of it called Pham Reunion. Among the many people who lit up when they saw Schilt this week was Cardinals outfielder Tommy Pham. Pham and Schilt exchanged a long embrace and spoke on the field yesterday afternoon. Schilt was Pham's manager in AA, AAA, and the majors with the Cardinals. They share an eye disease, actually. And the last part of it, though, was, by the way, it's not impossible to think they could be together again. AJ Preller has flirted with acquiring Pham, who played for the Padres in 20 and 21, at least once every year since he left. That includes at the trade deadline a few weeks ago before the Cardinals acquired him. Now it's being rumored that Pham will be released in the coming day, which would make him eligible to be on a postseason roster of another team as long as he's acquired before Sunday. The question I have for you, two fine gentlemen, is should the Padres add Pham? Jerry, you can have the first response.
I have a little mixed feelings on this, so I'll keep it brief because I think Jack's probably got a better take on this. I worry about the clubhouse effect because it's been rumored he's a good teammate. I don't know that. We can't even answer that, right? The second is really kind of, to me, when's Tatis coming back? I mean, he says week. September. He says September, but is that a sure thing? And so to me, if Tommy Pham, if anything, would be insurance, I'd be okay with it. But the postseason thing is my biggest concern because if you're going to pick him up, then you got to have at least a chance to have him on the postseason roster. And I'm okay with it. We've talked about the defense in right field. I love Peralta. He's 37 years old, and today made two very valid attempts Wasn't like he did anything wrong.
No, he did his best he could.
Literally like a step closer.
It was like a half, like half a step. Yeah.
But that's obviously, we're putting in defensive replacements for him. So obviously defense is a concern. Is Tommy Pham that much better? Jack?
No. I don't think so. I don't think Tommy Pham's he's okay. He's probably average. First thing I'd do is I'd go to the leaders of the club. I go to Manny, Tatis, players that have played with him, and say, hey, do you want us to go after him? Yeah. If they say yes, then I have no problem with it, because I think Profar could use some time off. I mean, I think he's
looking tired.
Yeah, he's got the bad knee.
Just need a breather. Yeah.
Breather. Peralta, I think if Tatis can come back, he's not going to play every day. And Peralta, I think what affects his hitting as the game goes on, I think all that running around. Again, he's 37. It's hotter than hell there in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And you could see he was a little. It just didn't seem like he had any energy towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
So is he better than Bryce Johnson? Yes.
That's
That's the thing. I mean, and he played well for Arizona in the playoffs.
He did
last year. I don't know him personally. I was never in the locker room. I never heard anybody complain about Tommy Pham in the locker room. It was more Tommy Pham, how he dealt with the fans and stuff, how he can be kind of
abrasive.
Abrasive for sure.
But giving Profar maybe a day off during the week and stuff like that, keep him fresh, through September. And because again, it's a long season, and then the playoffs, if you continue to go, extends the season. If you got guys that that are already hurting, it doesn't hurt to give them a day off here or there.
Yeah.
I'd ask the question, Jay. I'm going to ask one to you.
Yeah.
Would you worry if you get Pham? You're already kind of searching for bats for Solano. I mean, I think that's why he struggled today. He's just not getting enough at bats. If you bring Pham on, now you've relegated Solano a little bit more.
To me, I look at it as, and I totally understand that, right? And I feel like Bogarts need a breather, and that's where the problem is Solano can't play the outfield. And we need a right-handed option that's better than Bryce Johnson.
Right.
And to me, like, that's Tommy Pham. Like, to me, it's less about taking stuff away from Solano. It's taking stuff away from Bryce Johnson. And then you have like a platoon bench for the outfield. You have Peralta and you have Tommy Pham. And then that can be interchanged with Profar. We need a better bench piece than Bryce Johnson. Yeah. And that's where I think, as long as, to Jack's point, the locker room supports him, because all indicators say this is one of the best clubhouse environments that the Padres have had in a long time. Like,
there are a lot of people are rivaling, and you can understand why, with Arizona. The same thing has been said about Arizona's clubhouse.
Yeah, just a really
they're really, really tight. They love each other.
Yeah.
I was mentioning to Jack, while you were on the text too, that the players love Schilt. You can see when they come off the field, they're giving them hugs, for crying out loud.
After the Merrill walk-off, he gave Schilt a big bear hug, like picked him up.
So they've
don't get a hernia.
obviously, Cronenworth talked about it in an interview a couple of days ago when he had the big hit. He goes, we listened to these guys. As soon as they got the new coaching staff, we listened to these guys. We all bought in. And it's not just, yap. You can tell they really have that effect. And man, when you get a good clubhouse, the last thing you do, and Jack, you're right. That's the thing to do. And I'm sure that's probably what they do.
Yeah, they would do that.
Hey, Manny, Joe, Xander, you guys okay with this? Because, we can go get him. I don't think it'd cost you a whole lot, because usually DFAs, it's like, hey, if you can take the contract, we'll give them to you, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Usually there's not a whole lot.
There can't be that much. There can't be that much. He was only making like $3 or $4 million.
Yeah, and you only have a month now too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I heard on the radio show today, it was kind of interesting. They're saying that the Padres have never, still to this day, have never come out and said we're staying under the salary cap to get away from the luxury tax. But they said there's all sorts of incentives. Obviously, I think Jay, you mentioned in a previous podcast that your international money. the extra draft pick that, all those kind of things. And so, I obviously,
It
if
makes
they're
sense
even
to
talking
the
about
Yankees
it,
want to
it's
reset the tax. Like it's common
right,
sense. You'd want to, because
right.
all the things
You've
that they
got
pin
to.
you for. Yeah.
Well, especially when it starts, the next year would be 80%.
Yeah.
80%.
It's
Like
insane.
that's insane. Yeah, you're going to spend 270 million and you can give 160 million away for, for taxes.
For the A's and the Pirates to do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. To do nothing. Yeah.
Teams used to say that about us.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Did you see that Mark Cuban tweet? Because he's a big Pirates fan. They said, "Hey, wouldn't you want?" I was like, "I'd love to buy the Pirates, but the owners are not incentivized whatsoever to sell. They get to do nothing and make $25 million a year. Would you have a job where you just get to all you have to do is be yelled at by fans and make $25 million and do nothing?"
Yeah.
They're not giving that up.
They have a really nice stadium too.
Yeah.
A really nice stadium. And they used to be, like I said, Jerry and I remember when they were, one of the best teams in baseball.
Yeah.
But that was before free agency and stuff. And I did see that where they wouldn't sell. And to me, I think that if you go 5 seasons without having a 500 record, then you should lose any of the shared money that say it's $50 million. Well, you lose $50 million.
Yeah.
Because they're purposely.
The owners would never approve it because they approve it for themselves. But I agree.
Well,
relegation, like something.
Or lose like your top 3 picks.
Yeah.
Or you lose your first, second, and third pick.
Yeah.
They've adjusted the lottery a little bit. It's the NBA did it, where, you no longer have the guarantee if you tank, and they got the tanking thing. The problem is that the players union wants you to keep spending. So they'd love to have a lower salary cap, where it's like, oh, you have to spend at least this much. But the owners, because there's more of them than there are the Yankees and Dodgers and Phillies, they're all for, like, no, why would I have to spend so much? Why would I have to do that? And that's one thing that I do like about football a little bit better. Not my favorite sport. This is my favorite sport. But I do like the way they run the league, because you do have to spend a certain amount, and you can't spend more than this amount. Period.
If you're
no luxury tax, nothing.
If you're terrible, it's on you.
Yeah.
Which
I think would help baseball if it's, again, players unions are never, it's a players union owners going like this, right?
Yeah.
Because the players union will never, they bought into the luxury tax, and I think they even regret that because it's still holding down the spending, But the bottom line is the big clubs like Yankees, and I know we always bring up Yankees, but when your TV revenue basically pays all your payroll and everything else, and everything else is gravy, you can go over the luxury tax, and pretty much, still make a ton of money. But it's just the fairness of it all is just not right. And again, we went through years of this with a small market and trying to keep free agents, and every time we'd get somebody good, they'd leave, because we've had a history of great players. Yeah, we had history of great players here, but marvelous players that just went away.
I think one thing that people don't talk about too is, I've always bring this up when people talk about salary cap. I go, the problem is you have your large market teams like the Yankees, the Dodgers, maybe even the Cubs. Not only can they go out and get the better players, they can go out and they can hire more scouts. They can hire more, better coaches in the minor league system. Yeah. Whereas a lot of teams have to, we can't go out and they have 150 scouts. We can only get like 75. That's a big deal, because that's less guys going out there and finding players. Yeah. And also like the Dodgers, they have great coaches all the way down. It looks like the Padres may be starting to do that. But I think that's huge.
Well, they can make mistakes too.
Yeah,
they can afford to make mistakes.
Yeah. Oops, he didn't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just say one thing on the floor and the ceiling, I guess.
Yeah.
If you this is where I think the players union would make more sense for them, because there's 30 teams, but only like 2 major market teams. Really, it's really just the Dodgers and the Yankees that kind of have those crazy revenues. Philly, I mean, there's some like a little bit under that, but it's really only Yankees and Dodgers that can
They have
go
like
crazy.
$400 million local TV contracts.
Yeah, exactly. Insane deals.
Insane.
Not saying there's not other good ones, but not like that.
Right.
But if you say, okay, we'll give you a cap, owners, but you got to give us a floor. And if there's more teams that have to spend or $200 million or $150 million, whatever it is, that's more money to players than 2 or 3 teams spending $400 million and other ones spending $20 million or whatever, right?
Well, the theory's sound, but that obviously that discussion has taken place, and one side or the other is balking on what that floor is, what that ceiling is.
Yeah.
Obviously there's been near strikes in the past over this very subject. I don't think we're ever going to get to the fans' perfect world, because, free agency, I got to say, free agency sucks. It does, we've learned to live with it and everything, but it used to be more about the draft. Now I'm all about players' freedoms and stuff like that. And the one thing
players
that I
got screwed until, in all fairness, that system sucks for them.
No, it's the old, I always say the pendulum went from way over to this side to way over to this side, and it never stopped in the middle. So,
it really didn't.
Was it Drysdale that had a great year and the Dodgers lowered his salary?
Lowered his salary.
Because they were year-to-year contracts,
and
you
couldn't negotiate with anyone else. So.
I think him and Koufax held out.
That was their only means, because they could hold out.
Yeah, and when you have Koufax and Drysdale holding out, you're like, all right, I guess we gotta,
No, and again, the free agency as it exists today is a little bit fairer. I do like the fact that because I do take a little bit of the owner's side. They drafted you, they invested money into the minor leagues to get you to where you need to be. The coaching, the fundamentals, the equipment, the whole 9 yards. I like the fact that at least you get 6 years. You get the first 6 years.
Players want to lower it.
And if they do, I understand. But, I do like the fact that you get to kind of protect your investment, so to speak. And then there's a certain point.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was just going to say, but then there's also, there's just bad teams. You get drafted by a bad team.
Oh,
It's all right,
A's.
Yeah, exactly. If I get, I get it. See, the Padres, I feel like, have done a really good job in the Preller era. Right. They don't go to arbitration. They really treat their players well.
Right.
Even Hader, even though he's being a total jerk from a fan's perspective, they supported him in not over pitching or whatever. They treat their players really, really well. And that reputation
definitely has been a change in atmosphere in the Padres.
Yu Darvish, who said he wanted they offered him, hey, you could just go on the 60-day IL and still get paid. And he said, no, I'm not going to be, it's a family thing.
He's an honest guy.
It was an honorable thing to do. But still AJ went and said, we want to support you. We want to make sure you're taking whatever. And he's like, no, I'm good.
Well, doesn't that kind of it lead itself to the clubhouse? The clubhouse is not just the guys in the clubhouse. It's the management, it's the coaches, it's the general manager, it's the owners and all those kind of things.
Didn't they play the minor league players during the pandemic?
They did.
That I don't remember.
They did. I think they did. It was only 3 or 4 teams that did that, and the Padres were one of them.
Yeah.
So I gotta throw one out because this one's been bugging me because I unfortunately every once in a while get on X. I don't know sometimes why I even get on there.
I get on. All
I know Jack lives on that thing, but I get so irritated. I want to throw it. Right.
I know what you're talking about.
But here's the one that I want to hear your guys' opinion on.
Okay.
People are screaming for the Padres to lock up Merrill for life.
No.
Okay, that's his question. All right, Jack, you have the floor first. Go ahead.
I got my own opinion, but I want to hear your guys.
I love Merrill. But he's 21. All right. There's no reason to lock him up for life. You have years of control. He's a smart kid. There's no reason to say, okay, we're going to give you $40 million a year for the next 20 years. No. Okay. You let it play out. You gotta see how. I mean, he has all the tools. He has all the talent. He's got a great baseball attitude, but no.
I don't say for life. I would say do a similar deal that Corbin Carroll got, where your own or Bobby Witt. Well, Bobby Witt Jr. is kind of longer, but something that's like good for him, where he still gets to hit free agency if he wants to at a younger age, but we buy at least a few years outside of arbitration for a reasonable amount. Like I don't know what Corbin Carroll's was, but something like that where we're locking up somebody we believe in, but it's not necessarily the Tatis $340 million for 14 years kind of thing.
Okay.
Where do you side, Jerry?
I'm kind of in between you guys. I think you both bring up valid point. I initially gut reaction was just like, are you kidding me? Why would you bother? He's got 5 more years before he's even, gets to free agency. Why do you do that? Right.
Yeah. You could do it the 3rd year. To say,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But so there's the but that you bring up, Jay, that says, you know what? Again, I'm more towards your camp as if I were going to do it, then I would want to do maybe an extension so that we get a couple of more years, and it gives him a little bit more money up in the front rather than go through the whole arbitration. Maybe one of those 7-year contracts where you're like, okay, we'll give you $30 million for the first 7 years. Give you some guaranteed money, and all is good. The caution I have is we did this with Jake. And I'm not saying Jake's a bad deal, but it's not as good of a deal as it looked when we first locked him up. And he's got a very similar type of scenario. He'd been with us, 2 years? And we gave him a 7-year contract. I believe it's somewhere around 12 to 14 million a year.
11 a year, but yeah.
Something like that. But the bottom line is you're like, yeah, not a bad investment. But if Jake were to come up on arbitration or up on free agency and next year, would you really be willing to pay him that? Kind of thing. So
I think
you just got to be careful too, because the last point, you got to be careful how many guys you lock up. It's like we're going to get to a point where it's like we're not going to have any room to bring anybody else in. Go ahead, Jake.
I with Jake, I'm cool with it because I'm a Jake fan. I like Jake, but I think
I thought you said me at first. Like, oh, you like me? Oh, no, it's not.
Come on, yeah, I wouldn't give you.
I wouldn't give you a talk.
I wouldn't give you a dime.
Well, you already did, but
that's true. But I think him defensively. He moved to first base, didn't complain about it. He'd rather play second base. He's a gold. I mean, let's face it. We were saying Gold Glove earlier this season. He's our best second baseman and our best first baseman. He's got 75 RBIs. He's got 15 homers. Not bad. He's hit about 245. I think he's slowed down a lot too. But I like Jake. But I thought that's where you were going with your Twitter, because people were bitching about Musgrove and they're bitching about Cronenworth. Who let her into the chat? and Suarez. This guy was just going on about Musgrove. I go, he gave up 3 runs in 1 inning.
Oh my gosh! Geez.
I go, what are you? Because people are like, oh, he's 20. He's not producing. I go, not producing. God. Even after that bad inning,
reactionary.
He went 6 innings, and then people go Cronenworth.
That's a quality start, by the way. 6. I didn't quite go 6, but almost 6, 3 runs. That's a quality start.
I didn't watch the games at the end of the game last night because I was recording, and people are like, "Oh, Cronenworth in that situation." I go. You do remember he won had the game-winning hit the night before.
Yeah,
and someone said something. That's right. He tied the game up the day before.
Yeah.
I go, he's struggling a little bit, but it looks like he's starting to come out of it.
For a guy that's struggling, he's got 75 RBIs.
Yeah, 75 RBIs. I don't. He's got a chance to get probably 90 RBIs this season. I take that any day, and plus Gold Glove type defense at first base. But that's what I thought you're going
chat,
on Twitter.
By the way, 20 years, $700 million deferred, $650 million.
Does he have a gold bobblehead?
No.
You see on eBay, someone had that on eBay, a gold bobblehead of Ohtani, $18,000.
Nobody's buying it for $18,000.
But why would you put it on there?
Because to get people to take a picture of it and post it on social media.
The stupid Dodger fans waiting in line for 10 hours for it too.
Hey, how long did we wait for those Beanie Babies at the Padres game?
About 6 hours.
It was a similar scene.
Yeah.
At Jack Murphy Stadium. Okay.
The other question I have on that though is
I did want to before we do your next level. Before we do your next level, I just want to bring because we talked about the contracts of Corbin Carroll and Jake Cronenworth. I want to read those out and see if any of those save your thought. All
right. Sure.
Corbin Carroll signed an 8-year, $111 million contract with the Arizona Diamondbacks, including a $5 million signing bonus and an average annual salary of $13.8 million. So 8 years. So what does that buy? An extra 3 years?
Yeah,
out there. So that's that one. And then Jake Cronenworth's 7-year arbitration extension, $80 million. So his yearly or average annual salary is $11.428 million a year.
Yeah, I wouldn't do the Corbin Carroll deal. So the other thing to me that
is that too long, too little, too much?
Too much.
Okay.
Look, you basically get him for X above minimum wage for the next couple of years, no matter what he does.
Yeah,
I'm telling you. Yeah. Now there's a fine line on how you keep a guy happy versus that. But I, as a general manager, I would have no problem going to Jackson and say, "Great year, awesome year. You made 750s this year. We're going to give you $1.5 million next year to reward you for that.
Double his money.
We'd love to talk to you after next year about maybe something more than that. I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think that's insulting at all.
Yeah,
right.
I wish someone would insult me like that.
But because the bottom line is you got this kid's 21 years old. If I'm going to make a long-term bid for this guy, I want to wait till he's 23 or 24 because I want his 29, 30, and 31 years. That's the heyday right there.
Yep.
So if you start it right now, so let's go Corbin Carroll. You're only getting him until 29. He's going to be worth mega bucks if he keeps going at this rate. And now you've lost those 3 years. Yeah. You wait 3 years, 2 or 3, even 3 years, 2 years at the most. You can buy into that 29 and 30 year and even 31 at a still reasonable price. Because I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, if he does this again next year, his price will go up. He's a rookie. Yeah. You can double his salary and still pay him less than what you're going to pay. So what? So next, when he gets to arbitration, you have to pay him $7 million. Yeah, that's still less than a long-term contract. Right. So I can't believe the Padre fans are just. It's just everybody is always, to your point, Jack. Suarez blows and say, "Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world." This
he's
guy,
terrible. He's terrible.
He's cooked.
Somebody strikes out in a clutch and say, "Oh my gosh, we need to get rid of it."
Against one of the best relievers in the game right now.
Yeah.
The memory is just so short. It's like, this is a great team. Isn't it saying something that you can have a 500 8-game stretch and consider that not that great?
I know.
You could also go into the extension of a contract. Going to the extension of a contract, like you could point to Tatis. Has that been successful?
Right.
I mean, he's seems to be on the IL a lot. Yeah. Now he is like, his jersey is like the number 6 selling jersey, and I'm sure they make a lot of revenue off that. But forget anything besides that. As a player, has that contract been worth it?
Well, there's a lot of years left in it, so
yeah. But there's a lot of danger in that. Look at one of the best players, Mike Trout. Look at Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Has that contract been worth it?
No.
Hasn't played more than 60 games in the last 5 years.
I mean, he's an amazing player when he's playing.
But that's part of what you're paying for, though, right? Yeah. And I'll be the first one to say that when Joe Musgrove was hurt this year, I'm like, man, that contract doesn't look as good now. It sure doesn't look that good.
Yeah.
But the way he's been pitching lately, it's like, hey, it looks good. I mean, it's all dependent on if they come out and play.
Stay on the field. And again, I'm not blaming them. Injuries happen. Yeah. But that to me,
the older you get, the more often it happens.
Term contract, and I get scared to death even with Tatis, Machado, Bogarts. These are all 11 and 12 and 13-year contracts. man, your crystal ball is a lot better than mine.
And you look at I like Bogarts, but that contract does hamper us.
That one's going to age like milk. But I think the thing
when he's on, it's good. I mean, but
his defense has improved big time, I think, after his.
But he still doesn't have the range at second you'd like.
I think with Bogarts, the thing that I'm most concerned about, I think the defense has been great. He's now comfortable at second base.
It's much better than it was. Yeah.
That's acceptable to me. It took him a while. They say it's Tony Gwynn Jr. will say that's the hardest transition. It goes to short to second. Everybody thinks it's second to short. It's short to second is the hardest. Number two, I'm worried about his lack of power. Like we bought, so to speak, or the Padres bought a 325, 30 home run guy, and what we're getting now is a 270, not much power guy.
He's got that chronic.
I'm sorry to say, those are kind of a dime a dozen guys, and you're paying this guy, a lot of money.
And the problem is you can't trade him.
No, you can't, because
I think you just have to eat it. Like it was a dying man's wish to try and put the steam over the top.
Well, I don't think you have to get rid. You don't have to get rid of Bogarts.
No, I just think it's just one of those things. Like it's
like
what
it is. He has that chronic wrist thing. When was the last time he had a cortisone shot for it? Because when he's hitting right, but again, the lack of power. It could be from the shoulder injury too.
Yeah, he broke his shoulder or whatever, fracture. But here's the thing. The Bogarts thing is it is what it is, right? Machado thing, hopefully, ideally, he plays. I think he's on a Hall of Fame track, right? So if he does, he's going to go into there as a Padre. He's going to, break a lot of Padre records. He may hit 3,000 hits too. He may hit 500 home runs. Like
there are people on Twitter complaining about his defense.
He was spectacular this past week.
I go, what am I missing? I go, because they go to the metric, the whole.
Oh my goodness.
I go, look, I can only go by what my eyes are showing me.
Stat nerds need to calm down.
I go, he is an outstanding defensive.
Stat nerds have cost many good players Gold Gloves because he doesn't measure up in the WAR. I don't know how they figure that thing, but it's a flawed system because. That's why Arenado's got all those Gold Gloves because they always wore him better than Machado. And I'm not going to do the Skeens Merrill Jackson thing here. Arenado is a great player, an awesome player, great defender. But the fact that they're saying that he's 10 Gold Gloves to 3 Gold Gloves better, no, it's not even close. So,
what I love,
we lose those arguments because we don't get to vote. So.
But the thing is this series was great because of how many times Machado robbed Arenado of hits.
You've been Machadoed.
You've been Machadoed. Yeah.
Like it just unreal play after unreal play, and it was funny. I think it was Arenado finally got a hit that was hit that way. And you could see him joking to Cronenworth, like, God, I finally got one.
Grant was even joking that Arenado's hit was up the middle to win the game last night. So it's like he finally figured maybe he'd hit it up the middle and get away from Machado. But no, Manny's he's lit right now. He is so lit on defense and offense. Even his outs are just
you know what?
Just line drive after line drive.
Manny wants the ring.
He does, and that's what you love about this team. And you know what? I'll step out and say that I think Merrill Jackson has a lot to do with the attitude of this team.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I do that all the time, but Jackson.
It's okay, Yoda.
He's got a lot to do with the attitude on this team because you can see he lights up these guys, and they interview these guys, and they were interviewing Peralta. And he said, "Yeah, I had to go to Jackson Merrill and say, hey, could you let one of us win a game every once in a while? I mean, and they're just you can tell these are seasoned veterans, and they're just in awe of this kid. Just like he's 21, guys. You're not supposed to do this at 21.
No, not this long. He's been playing all season. Well,
he's got so much composure. When he hit the last walk off, when he slammed his bat down, he's like, ah. I mean, you can see his teammates just go. I think that's when he picked up Schilt.
Yeah.
That was after that he picked up Schilt, but then like Profar jumping out of the dugout, slapping his hand, he goes across.
His longest slump of the year is 0 for 19.
That's
his longest slump of a whole year.
That's incredible for your first year.
Tony Gwynn Jr. says, that's my dad. Like that that was his, because I think Tony Gwynn had an 0 for 19. I think was his longest career. But he just
even when he got robbed by Scott for the Cardinals, he goes out and he hugs him and stuff like
great sportsmanship.
That's I love that. I mean, of course, back in the 60s, 70s, that would have been frowned upon.
Right.
But I just said he loves the game, and
he loves
if you played for the Phillies. Yeah, if you played for the Phillies, they'd probably run you out of town.
Another note in today's daily that I thought was interesting, kind of ties into what you're talking about here, Jerry.
Okay.
So many things have gone into sustaining an offense that has the major league's highest batting average, most big innings, and ranks in the top 10 in runs and OPS. But there's one practice the Padres have put into play that they credit with being among the most significant factors in their success. The story is about the communication between batters during games, and there's some good insight in there about how the Padres help each other. This is the article you wrote the other day. One thing he didn't include, so that goes to when
Cronenworth approached to Merrill just before he came up and hit the game winner. Yeah,
he said, "Hey, the slider's not."
He said, "Merrill Jackson, you make sure you."
He said the slider's not spinning as much, so if he gets one in the zone, crush it, and that's what he did. But said one thing I did not include is to mention the way the players not in the game are intently watching and vigilant and pointing things out and reminding the team's hitters to stay with the prescribed approach. The bench is incredible. Hitting coach Victor Rodriguez said, if they see we are hitting fly balls, they're like, hey, let's get back. Let's hit line drives. And then you see the difference. So even the players that aren't playing are watching, analyzing the hits, and then giving the feedback to the players, off of the bench. Like that. That's a great clubhouse environment.
Well, and it just shows, basically that the players have thick skin. It's like, I'm not, hey, come talk to me. If you see something I'm doing, talk to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of players are not that open. A lot of veteran players are like, what are you doing? You're a rookie. Why are you talking to me? And one thing that I've heard, is that, people like Merrill Jackson is Jackson Merrill. Jeez. Now that I've said it, I'm going to keep saying it. But now that Jackson,
I do the same thing.
Yeah. Jackson Merrill has even said, he says, they've welcomed me with open arms. He says, this is my family, and to Jack's point, man, back in the day, rookie, you were trashed. Like the veterans wouldn't even talk to you because you know why? Because you're after my job. No, you're after my job. I don't, I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Was the Lou Gehrig.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what though? That's the benefit of having all of your big stars on lifetime contracts. Like,
exactly.
Well, you can't take my job.
What I like about that is the players who aren't playing are into the game. They're so when they have to come into the game, because you know how it happens. You're sitting there, you're not playing. You're like, okay, this is the 8th game I haven't played. Yet you see like guys like Wade and the bench guys. They're on the top of the rail. They're watching the game, like you said. They're telling hey, you kind of dipped your shoulder, whatever they're saying.
Yeah.
Well, and support, because you throw back. It's been at least a month or so when Schilt had Solano pinch hit for Cronenworth, and Cronenworth stayed right up on the front step with Schilt, and he got the hit, and he's the first guy out to go out and congratulate Solano.
Yeah.
So, this team's fun to watch. Of course, we get a little frustrated when the offense. I was teasing Jack. He's like, this offense just needs to get going. I was like, they've been off for 2 games? Yeah.
That's 2 games. That's 2 games too many.
Yeah. What a slump, 4-4 in their last 8 games. Oh my gosh. Break up the Padres.
Last year, 20 games.
And their pitch count. Their pitch count's horrible.
Oh, the pitch. Don't start. We almost made it through.
Well, the first thing I saw when I hopped on the game was King had 71 pitches in the 3 innings. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And that's when Jerry said he's being squeezed a lot. So I'm sorry, the pitch count's important, and I will always promote the pitch count, because that's it should be. I was saying that in the chat yesterday, I could hear they must have had a microphone, and because there was no Cardinal fans there. I mean, all 4 games.
It's sad.
It is sad. And there was someone on Twitter a Cardinal fan was mad about what Mudd and Don were saying. And I said, well, you didn't listen to the whole. If you listen to the whole thing, they were saying that you're used to coming and you see St. Louis, and I mean, they must have a good season ticket base. There could have been more than 10,000 people at the game.
Yeah. I mean, some of it's the heat, but I've seen St. Louis crowds packed with the heat.
Yeah.
They're spoiled a little bit in a good way. And again, I've heard all my life, Cardinal fans are some of the best. They're very educated. They're very, they don't boo a whole lot. They're very, they support their team.
We all wanted Tony Gwynn to get his 3,000 hit there, and not.
But I mean, I like that. I like that about I'm not a Philly fan hater, but I just don't like. They were booing. I watched the Phillies play. Who were they playing? But it was 10-0, and they left. Anyway, I forget the names. The starting pitcher who was struggling, they left him out there because they just needed to get innings.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They started booing.
Take one for the team,
and I'm like, you are booing the second best team in baseball because what? One game, and if you're an educated baseball fan, you know what the manager's doing. You know why he's leaving him out there because he can afford through his whole bullpen. Schilt does the same thing. I can't manage one game as if it's the World Series. We're not in the World Series yet.
Waldron's
exactly.
last start, he left him
Sometimes
out
you just you tell the pitcher, like, look, you're just gonna have to eat one for me here
because
I can't use up a bullpen, especially in a game where you're behind by 8-10 runs.
Yeah,
that's just silly,
And can I ask you a question?
And I just don't like it when fans start booing their home team, especially a team that good. And it's just Anyway,
am I just people again on Twitter and social media? They don't like Vasquez, and I'm like going, I'm not seeing what's wrong with him.
What is it you don't like?
He's a young pitcher, and like even Mud said, when he learns keeps his body in control. Like when he falls to the left, that's when he has problems. When he starts,
but he still only gave up what 2-3 runs?
Two runs.
Hadn't pitched in the majors for a month or two. Jumped in, What do you want?
I'll tell you the biggest problem, guys, is that a lot of people have not become statistical people. You got to go. They look at the whole season, right? And look, there's something about the whole season. But if you look at Vasquez, his ERA is like 7 or 8 or 9 for the first 8 starts. Since then, he's been really, really good.
Yeah,
they said the same thing about Waldron. Now Waldron went south on us for the last 5 starts. I don't blame him for doing what they did.
I think he got just worn out.
Yeah. But the bottom line is that his ERA got kind of in the 3s and 4s after he was in the 8s at the first 5 starts of the season. So you gotta and it's the same thing. You go the other way around. I'm getting a little concerned about Dylan Cease, a little, not a lot, a little concerned. Because he's got this first inning itis that he's just having. It's more than one start now. It's about 4 or 5 out of the last 5 starts. And it's just like, okay, it's to Jack's point, not just the pitch count, but he's having trouble getting into the zone, his release point, and all that. And I worry anytime a pitcher goes a couple of starts like that. You get one like Musgrove, he'll be fine next time around. Same thing with Michael King. Get a better umpire, and but the bottom line is you got to give St. Louis credit. They made both of those guys work.
Yeah,
because Michael King and Dylan Cease are strikeout pitchers, and a lot of times I think they get a little bit too much in love with the strikeout and start trying to throw the perfect pitch, and they turn an 0-2 count into a 3-2 count, and sometimes they get them, and sometimes they don't, and I think it hurts them. And you go back to the Greg Maddux, theory was, why would I waste an 0-2 pitch? Why would I do that?
Ooh, I want to watch that.
Our pitchers learn that.
Jake Peavy.
As we start to wind down here, I do. Have you guys watched the MLB Network Greg Maddux documentary? I want to watch it.
I missed it.
I've seen clips.
I've seen clips of it
before he went pitched with the Padres.
Yeah, he
was a pitcher.
Yeah, and there's just some really fun. I've seen clips, like Jack, you're saying, where
how he
Jeff
called
Bagwell
pitches.
in this season, he grooved a home run to him, seeded the home run because he wanted to tee him up, because I know we're going to play in the playoffs, that he thinks he's going to be able to hit a home run off of me, but I'm going to actually get him to strike out in 2 or whatever. And his personal catch was like, sure enough, that's what happened during the playoffs. He pitched this pitch inside or whatever, and he
was good with the Padres. I mean, he was.
Oh, he was lights out still. Yeah. You know, my funniest one that I heard, the clips was how he called his own pitches, and John Smoltz said, he did it all the time. If he caught it in close, it was going to be a fastball inside. If he caught it out in front, it was a fastball outside.
And nobody ever knew.
If he take his glove and whatever, and he basically, and he says, all his career, nobody ever knew. Nobody ever
that's
knew.
wild.
He didn't need the little clicker thing.
Exactly.
All right, let's look ahead to the next week in Padres baseball. We are still on the road. We've got a few games in Tampa Bay. Well, hopefully, if Tampa Bay swept the Diamondbacks, who
but
otherwise can't be beat.
Compared to the last 8 games or last 11 games, I would say a little bit easier schedule.
Well, absolutely. So we got
they'll be playing in front of another small crowd.
We've got the 3 in Tampa Bay, and then for some reason we come home on a Monday, play the Tigers, and then, which is an earlier.
It's a mandatory day off because 18 in a row is the most they can play.
Yeah.
But then why don't they just move the Tigers game to here and have Monday?
Because the Tigers are probably playing somebody.
No, I read that Major League Baseball wants teams to play on Labor Day. That's what I read.
Oh, because it's a holiday.
And more people might show up, so more fans in the stands.
But that's what I read. I think for the Padres, it's also like they have to have a day off.
Yeah,
that's why they do it after.
Like that. That's true too. But that's what I read, that they don't.
That makes sense.
I'm always shocked when they take like the fourth. They
did that this year. It was only like a half schedule on July 4th, and I'm like, that's like baseball day, man.
I don't get it. But baseball doesn't make sense sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So 3-game series in Tampa Bay. Then we go straight to San Diego. Tigers on Monday, Tuesday off. Tigers and then Tigers again. They may be playing while they will be playing while we're streaming next week. But so we won't quite know that last game, probably the fate of it. But what are we still going to call we got 6 games with Tampa Bay and the Tigers. I don't know who went first last, but who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Okay,
Me?
Jack.
All right, I'll go. Jack, you go.
No, you go. You go first.
Okay,
go first.
I'm gonna say 4-2.
4-2.
4-2.
I'm guessing Oz is going to say 6-0, but I'm going to say I agree. I think I'll be disappointed if it's not 4-2.
Okay.
Yeah. I can do the 4-2, but I won't be disappointed if it's not 4-2.
You just want to go 500 the rest of the way, Jerry? Just like hit 500.
You know what? I think there's certain clubs that we should beat. This is not two to me that we, like automatically should beat. Tampa Bay's in a very tough division,
and they're always good.
Tampa Bay
the Tigers are a 500 team, just like the Cardinals. The one thing I didn't, and I usually do, I didn't see the pitching matchups, because if we have to face Skubal, that's a tough one for the Tigers.
Ooh, yeah.
That's a very tough game for the Tigers.
You know what? We'll play them on Tuesday.
Yeah, there you go. But no, I obviously coming home, I hope we come home. But I think 4-2 would be a good week. And yes, Jay, to answer your question from about 2 minutes ago, I'm at that point. Yeah, give me some 500. I just want to make the playoffs. I really do. Mm-hmm. Arizona and Dodgers meet each other for 4-game series. I always kind of hate that, because that means somebody's got to win. They can't both lose, but yet somebody's going to lose. Yeah. So I'll ask you guys one final question. Who are you rooting for?
I was just going to say, I was raising my hand. Who should we root for? The safe answer is to root for the Dodgers and have the Diamondbacks go down. But I hate the Dodgers. So how am I going to sit there and root for the Dodgers? And it wouldn't hurt so much to see the Diamondbacks win 4 games and have the Dodgers lose 4 games.
Jay?
I would say whatever gets us either in the 6th seed spot on the wild card, or
that has nothing to do with it there.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't want to be where we are right now, which is the 2nd wild card. I want to be the 1st wild card, which means we're home. or or we win the division, or we're just in the 6th seed and then we face the Brewers or whatever. Like, to me, so between the two, I think let the Dodgers beat up the Diamondbacks and maybe we take the top wild card seed. So probably
I'm definitely rooting for the Dodgers to sweep.
Yeah.
And here's why. If we take care of our business, we don't fall any further behind the Dodgers. We got 3 games left with them. We can do something about that, right?
Yeah.
I want the Diamondbacks behind us for the very reason you're worried about. If we're going to play the Diamondbacks, I want to play them at home.
Yeah.
Right.
And if the Dodgers sweep them, then the Braves may overtake them.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I think the worst thing that could happen is they go 2-2. It's like,
I don't want that.
Give me one or the other kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of Jack's favorite thing is like, whoever wins the first game, I want them to win all of them.
Yeah.
So yeah. And Oz, I agree with you. It physically hurts me. I almost regurgitated when I said for the Dodgers. But there are times
a part of me died inside.
But September is one of those times where you sometimes have to, your best friend is your worst enemy. I mean, that's playoff baseball sometimes. And I know it's way too early, but the bottom line is, I kind of hope the Dodgers do a sweep, get all giddy about themselves, put the Diamondbacks 2 or 3 behind us.
Is it in Arizona or Los Angeles?
It's in Arizona. Yeah.
There'll be high-scoring games with both pitching staffs.
Because the bottom line is when we get to those last 6 games against the Dodgers and D-backs, I just want to be able to know that if we beat one of them, we're going to get in the playoffs, period.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to sit there and go, oh, crap, we got to beat both of them to get into the playoffs.
Yep.
That's
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Because they're on the road, too.
Yeah, they're at their places, and I'll be honest with you. I kind of fear the Diamondbacks more only because I don't want to go to Arizona knowing that we're tied at, in record 3-game series and have to beat them. And, oh, by the way, maybe have to beat them 2 out of 3 to get the home playoff.
Yeah.
That's not a scenario I'm really would be happy about. I'd like to be able to go to Arizona, either have it A, wrapped up, or B, get it to where, okay, we only need to win one of these games to be above them, and now all's good. So.
Agreed. All right. Well, that is as good a place as any to wrap up this episode of Padres Talking Padres. Again, hit the subscribe and the bell so you don't miss any of this riveting Padres discussion every single week. Thursdays at 8:15 Eastern, 5:15 Pacific. We'll see what happens.
Is there a way to block that Tamra person?
Chat, thank you so much for being here, including Tamra. I'd rather have her on the show than you, to be honest, Jack.
That could be arranged.
Madres and Padres Talking Padres. We'll see you all next time.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you very much.